All right, so that just happened. Doug Pederson and the Eagles have parted ways. That's the way they're kind of describing it. That's what I said this morning on the Daily Drive show, which was, I feel like Doug Pederson, Jeff Lurie wasn't flying him there to fire him. Doug Pederson flew down there. They wanted to hash this out, and Doug Pederson didn't want to be back here. That's the way I see it. It wasn't like Lurie fought to keep him. It was, I just don't want to be here anymore. That's how I feel. How does Sal Pal feel? ESPN Sal Pal, he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Sal, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine Jeff Lurie. He has enough respect for Doug that he didn't just tell him to get on a plane just so I can fire him, right?
Well, there's also the matter of he's owed 2 more years on his contract. That's $6 million per. So if they had an amicable parting of the ways, did Pederson relieve him of some of the financial responsibilities of that contract that Lurie owes him for the next 2 years? Because if Lurie just out and out fired him, then he would owe him 2 years and $12 million.
Right.
If they had a parting of the ways and an understanding, maybe Lurie saved himself a few bucks.
Does it boil down to Pederson just didn't want to be here anymore? I mean, is that how we read this?
I think your reading of it is correct. I think that Jeffrey Lurie clearly was not sold on Doug Pederson's plans going forward regarding the coaching staff. He pushed for a passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach Press Taylor. It should be the next offensive coordinator. He didn't have an offensive coordinator this year after he was forced to fire Mike Groh after he wanted to keep Mike Groh. And he brought in those 2 consultants, Morningwig and Scangarello. They left because their contracts expired. And if you read very clearly the comments of Doug Pederson in the final press conference, he said, I want to have more control over how things go here. He said those words.
Yep. And he went through.
So
a ton of coaches about how many different voices there were, and that only one voice could be heard, and that's his.
Okay, so now you have that. So there was obviously a little bit of a power struggle, no question. There was the absolute regression of the offense, 26th in scoring, 21 points per game, 28th in passing yards, 28th in passing yards in a league that set records for points scored and passing yards. Now, you obviously can go back to the seriously bad offensive line play due to the injuries, 13 different offensive line combinations. They got to fix the offensive line. I don't care who the next coach is. But I think your reading of it is accurate, Mike. I think that Lurie didn't like what he heard, and Pederson didn't like the situation.
Right. So this isn't, I mean, a lot of people would say, well, there was a time, Sal, and I know you'll remember, that a football coach went down to the owner and said, it's either me or Roseman. And Roseman ended up down the hallway, and that didn't go so well. Was that something that could have happened here? That Pederson just said, look, I can't work with this guy anymore, and it's either him or me. And he picked Roseman this time.
No, I don't think it came to that, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because Roseman and Pederson have the same agent, Bob Lamont. And I don't think that Roseman and Pederson had the same antagonistic relationship. In fact, I know that they don't.
Okay.
That Kelly and Roseman did.
Right.
Roseman was banished by Kelly. Banished. That didn't take place here. Pederson's not that kind of guy. He's a very easygoing, non-confrontational guy, but he felt perhaps at this point that his future hangs in the balance and he wants to have control over it, and so he wanted to pick his coaches.
Yeah.
As Bill Parcells once said, you expect me to cook the dinner, I want to go shop for the groceries.
Right, so this is Pederson essentially saying, I'm tired of being told what to do, and if you're not going to give me a voice to pick my own coaches and do my own, have a bigger voice, I don't want to be here anymore.
And this is Lurie saying, I don't like your choices, and so we part ways.
Yeah. Right, because as you mentioned on Friday's show, that you'd be pretty shocked if it wasn't Press Taylor, and it sounds like Jeff Lurie said, I'm not all that excited by that move. So if that's your pick, we can't work together.
Now, there's a reason why I said that. It's because I knew Pederson wanted Press Taylor.
Sure.
So it's pretty clear. Okay, so now what happens next?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Well, I think they have. I think they have an interest in Todd Bowles, tough guy. Used to be here under Andy Reid, defensive coordinator of the Bucs. I'd be shocked if they did not interview Todd Bowles. I'd be shocked if they didn't have an interest in Eric Bieniemy, who's running the offense for Andy Reid in Kansas City, because I know Jeffrey Lurie speaks to Andy Reid all of the time, still to this day.
Right.
So I'd be shocked if Eric Bieniemy was not given a chance. I think clearly they will give Deuce Staley every opportunity to win the job. They will have multiple conversations with him, and they will see it if he can pass muster. Jim Caldwell, who seems to be right now at the top of the list in Texas, the Houston Texans, I think they'll look at him. And I want to know, do they look outside the box? Do they look at Lincoln Riley, who coached Jalen Hurts to acclaim in Oklahoma? Do they look at Josh McDaniels? Josh McDaniels would be an interesting one. The only problem with Josh McDaniels is he parted ways with Bob Lamont last year over the Colts job. And as I said before, Roseman is represented by Lamont.
Correct.
So I don't know if there's some bad blood there to the point where Roseman would not hire Josh McDaniels because of what happened last year over the Indy job.
Is what happened here a deterrent? If you're looking at this,
what do you mean by that?
If you're coming as a head coach and you say they couldn't get along with the guy who won a Super Bowl 3 years ago and went to the playoffs, and they got rid of him, is that a deterrent? Or, I mean, it looks like this organization has a little bit of some chaos going on right now.
Well, let's look at it from this perspective. I see where you're going. So let's rephrase the question. So now there are 7 openings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Where would the Eagles' job rank in terms of the openings, given the fact that you're in salary cap hell? A. B. The Carson Wentz problem is not going away, and you may not have the answer in Jalen Hurts. But you do have the 6th overall pick. So the quarterback situation is unsettled. You have an older roster with an offensive line that is decimated by injuries. But you have the best fan base in the National Football League. And I don't just say that because I live here. I do believe it. They are the most loyal fan base in the country. And they will support the team financially and emotionally through thick and thin.
Yeah.
And you want to be part of that. You want to be part of that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just a sport here. It's a way of life. If you want to join, it's like joining the Navy SEALs of sports.
I don't know
you got to train for it. You got to be ready for it. You got to be able to take all of the punishment that goes with it.
Yeah.
It's the Navy SEALs of sports.
Yeah. Well put, Sal Pal.
It's worth it because once you get that pin on there, it's good. You're good to go once you're a made member.
Well, are you? He has the pin and he's out.
Oh, you're talking about Pederson.
Yeah. He has achieved the one thing that nobody else in this town could, and it seems that he was shown the door with now. And that's the thing. He won a Super Bowl and was given no voice to be able to. It's like what coach, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, these guys don't get any say in anything.
Yeah, take it from Doug Pederson's perspective. I brought you the Lombardi Trophy, and you won't give me what I want.
Yeah.
And my answer would be, well, we did give you what you wanted. We gave you an extension worth $6 million a year. Isn't that good enough?
Interesting.
So, yeah. So, I mean, you're right. Now, you didn't ask me the one question that I thought you would ask me.
Well, Mike, I had one more question that was on the top of my mind before you give me the answer to that. So, have you texted Doug Pederson yet?
No, that's not the question. I have not yet. No, I'm letting the dust settle.
Okay.
Do I think it's a mistake to fire Doug Pederson? Me personally, do I think it's a mistake?
Yes. It's a good question.
I think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake. I think it's a bad idea.
Okay.
I think the team is in such turmoil that there was one guy who could fix it, and that's him.
Okay. Now, with that, I agree. Like, because Jeffrey has always, this gold standard, and that he wanted to be, like New England and Pittsburgh. Those teams would not do this. Like Baltimore had that 1 year where they were like, should we get rid of Harbaugh? And they kept him. The 4 years, they were going to trade Sean Payton after 7-9. They stuck with them. You wouldn't see that level of franchise do this, I feel like. And that's why I agree that you made a mistake for those reasons. He didn't have a good year, Doug, as the coach, I would say, but I think that they made a knee-jerk reaction here.
The team did not have a good year. The quarterback position had a horrible year. The coach had a very bad year. But he did go to the playoffs for 3 straight years. And he did win the one and only Super Bowl title. But he had a bad year. And I think what accelerated the displeasure is what happened in the last game and the way in which it happened. I think it soiled the organization's legacy. I think it definitely hurt Doug Pederson, no question, within his own locker room for sure, and it's been rebuked inside and outside the organization. And I think that's what hastened his departure.
Yeah. It's how much did the quarterback?
Now the question is, will he get another? Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think we all will he get another job? I think people think maybe by the end of the day he might get hired. But how much did the quarterback? Did he say, "Look, if Carson Wentz is back, I don't want to be here"? I mean, is that a possibility?
Yes, there's no question about that. I think the leaking to Chris Mortensen about the relationship being in disrepair and beyond being fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think really was something that was bottom line was you either pick me or you pick Doug, one of the two. Now they decided to part ways with Doug Pederson, and the question is whether or not they will now trade Carson Wentz, and I think the answer to that will be no. I think it's going to be tough to trade Carson Wentz, but it all comes down to who's the next head coach and whether or not do they want Carson Wentz, do they want Jalen Hurts, or they want Plan C, which is the 6th overall pick as a quarterback? Or do you bring in somebody else? I mean, we are now in totally uncharted territory. You just fired your Super Bowl winning coach, and you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
To replace him.
When
they fired Brian Billick, you knew they were going to hire Harbaugh. They had a plan to hire John Harbaugh when they fired Brian Billick in Baltimore. That was already in the works. Ozzie Newsome was not going to get caught flat-footed like Howie Roseman is right now.
When you read that Doug was going to Florida today, did you think this was going to be the result?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way too. And that it would basically be, like I said, there's days where I want to go down to my boss's office and map out everything that's on my mind, and then I think otherwise. Doug put his big boy pants on today and said, I'm just going to air it out, and if you don't like it, you can get rid of me. And Jeffrey said, I don't like it. Shake your hand. Good luck in your future endeavors. That's how it went down.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a shocking fall from grace, a complete reversal of fortunes. I thought it could happen, but I never thought it would happen, and I don't agree with it.
Yeah,
I definitely don't agree with it, because I'm not sure. You got to tell me what the plan is, and I don't see one. They need now a complete overhaul of the coaching staff, a complete reconfiguration of the quarterback position. They have to fix their offensive line. And as I said to you on Friday, I believe, 3 of their 4 wins were against backup quarterbacks, and the 4th one was against a team where the quarterback fell down and the Pro Bowl tight end dropped a pass that would have iced the game. They could have easily won 2 games.
Yeah, it was I got to tell you, in all the years I've been doing this show, even the year that Andy got fired, they just had so many injuries, and it wasn't this bad. They were competitive in games. This team wasn't competitive not once all year. Yeah,
and don't discount if you say Peterson is going to get a job right away. Mike, don't discount how much his reputation was hurt by what happened on Sunday Night Football against Washington in the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's going to be a hard sell to the fan base. Now, people are saying Joe Douglas and Doug Pederson have a relationship and he would wind up with the New York Jets. Mike, how do you sell that? I mean, that's a tough sell. If you go on social media right now, there's outrage among Jet fans. And not only that, last time I looked, there's more Giants fans who live in North Jersey than there are Jets fans.
Yeah.
And he's got to deal, Doug, with the media question marks right from the beginning about what happened in that game, tank or no tank. I mean, I think that is a highly volatile situation that he would be jumping into there if the Jets just do that.
Yeah.
They'd have to face a whole lot of criticism about that and a whole lot of backlash.
All right, there you go. Doug Pederson fired or parted ways. Jeffrey Lurie has put out a statement. Sal Pal gave us some names to keep an eye on, how this all went down, and the fallout has begun. The Eagles' offseason has just got as dramatic and wild as their in-season, and it's going to be a wild ride for the next couple of weeks now, I guess, for them to interview and hire, and we'll see what's next. Sal Pal, all right, man. This is craziness, but I guess in 2020, the way everything's gone, to be expected.
To be continued.
Perfectly put. To be
Thanks
continued.
for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show, Michael.
All right, Sal Palantonio, ESPN on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline.